And I'm back with more Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. And here's hoping I can finish this up today and get to case 2-1 next time. She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task was to dispose of the victim's body in accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has no objections. Very well, the court will now take its final recess of the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. Hold on. What? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. What? Of course, you'll never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. All right, then. I've got a lunch date to meet. Duh. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court will now take a recess. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Thanks for your help, Edgeworth. Ah, Chief. He's something else, ain't he? Detective Gumshoe. I ain't no detective no more. Sorry about that. Ah, don't worry. I already decided where to work now. At your office! My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knot girl you used to work with. Still, looks like we're out of moves now. He's done it again. How's he always got the upper hand? It's not fair he's got the right to refuse to testify. Settle down. Remember what the judge said. That's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. What do you mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite holds true. He forfeits its right to say anything? Emma, are you okay? Well, yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I'd been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. Don't be. It was the truth after all. It's funny. I almost feel relieved. Relieved? Well, yeah. Now that I know what happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. She did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was the easiest way for her to do so. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow his orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything he was told to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked him into that armor. Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act. Why don't you wait? No. I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Gee, wait a few more minutes. I would have gotten a perfect save point anyway. Oh well. Well, crap. I did not foresee this. Anyway, fair enough. Fair enough, game. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony. Tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on it. You're the only chance we've got. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was so that I could get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? I'm confessing to a capital offense, of course I'm sure. But Lana, if this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something. Deep down, she's really screaming. This is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? Seems I was the first to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor's award's knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that's so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. That was lying on the floor a little distance away. Was probably not the way in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover it up. All just to protect me. So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the wound? But why would you move the body? You of all people should know. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I would ask. When you showed up to the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why'd you move it there? The reason for that's simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason she moved the body. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery of the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that's true, that you were exposed now, the past 2 years of your life, will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a slight contradiction. Or significant, god damn it. A contradiction? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that were shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. You have a problem with that. It's a simple oversight. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. The prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And that's where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message in the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regards to this jar and the bloody message. We might be missing something critical here. Chief Prosecutor, it seems that you're in the dark as we are about the truth towards where we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together information as we arrive to the truth. The witness may begin her testimony, or continue. God damn it, I'm saying weird words now. Message in blood. You can tell I'm ready to get this case over with. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. We found the final piece of this jar in Gant's safe. In the chief's safe, but how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it. But the witness just testified she gathered every piece and wiped every blood off them. Yes, which leaves us only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. Oh. She couldn't, but couldn't she have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. That may be, but everyone makes mistakes. I even wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all up. Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're not implying this person is Chief Gant. At this time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break it? The question is, if he did arrive first, then why'd he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, can you answer us that? Ugh! Wow, making the judge go nuts today. Well, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would he do such a thing? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? Discovering the scene, Lana Sky believed her sister killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, he created evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma. Therein lies the reason. The reason that she became his puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please stop trying to protect him. I can't let you suffer anymore. You didn't. It wasn't you. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything he says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type that likes to twist the truth. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of his trap? Is something wrong? Lana may be right after all. What do you mean? So you do tell foul lies? Please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might have also been a lie. I do remember knocking him over. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there's a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well, I'll testify about what I really saw. All right, the witness may testify once more, for a final time. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on the suit of the sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. My chief can't help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it was all a fabrication, she might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. It's a picture of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed, but I don't remember seeing a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright, please present this picture. I don't remember seeing any pictures. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Oh. Hey, there's a picture. Oh my. The actual crime scene? No other detective saw the crime scene like this. Because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I'd rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, that piece of cut cloth couldn't be the cloth we found inside his safe. What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Who's ever fingerprints on that must be the real murderer. But they're yours. Why are your lips turning all purple? Let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. What the? Oh! Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Cheap get. What, now you want me to make me out to be the bad guy, too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You'd already declined to testify. That means you forfeit your right to make any statements. Ugh. This must be that risk we were taking. Just sit back and relax and enjoy the sounds of the noose tightening around your own neck. Jeez! Ugh. Ah! Oh, so what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. That means you still have some conclusive evidence. No, I don't, but someone does. So what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true? If I show that piece of evidence, Emma's sure to be made out to be the murderer. If you have any more evidence, present it now. If you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. I'd better think this through. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present it? The one that really shows who killed Prosecutor Marshall? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present. What? You lie. You opened my safe. I know it was you, and you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show him? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth. You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Do you notice anything odd about the chest area? Looks like part's been cut for some reason. You had this in your safe? That means the chief of police has been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer, so I'll tell you what really happened. You mean you admit to it? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. Then it occurred to me that it could have used the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew her. If I made it look like I laid the blame on her sister, then when she saw the scene, she would seek my aid. So you assisted her. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. They ended up using that evidence to get him convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before she arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces? You mean those items in your safe? For insurance, of course. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always to be best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating this far ahead? What do you take me for, fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of her name. I didn't expect Lana, to go and wipe the blood off. But if you fabricated it all, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message in the jar, too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. That piece of cloth. Come on, Righto, cough it up. I know you have it. What are you talking? What are you waiting for? So you admit to it then? That you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's chest? Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have anything... I didn't want to have to do that being chief and all, but it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you can present. Foolish move, Righto. You should have just shown it before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth's finally arrived. As long as I don't mess this up. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of cloth from the victim's vest. Ah, at last you finally brought it out in the open. There's a handprint! This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact to it for it been left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged? It's authentic, conclusive evidence. Oh, you're as slow in the uptake as ever. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence, yet he was reluctant to do so. Now, why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Do you really know? Whosever fingerprints belong to it must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to... I'm a Sky? They're mine? I'm sorry. But why? Why didn't you tell me? You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along. And yet you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you? You monster! Miss Sky, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't? Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial's not over yet. I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh? And what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. This piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture that Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? His shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked in blood. It's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood's pouring out. Oh, God! But this... Wait. There's no blood on it! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on that cloth, there's no doubt she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword. This is nonsense! Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, what could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Ugh. Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar in the victim's blood. A jar that they broke on purpose to hide a clue. And made Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut this bloodless piece of the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through that very act of insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. Ugh! It's finally all over. What? That was close. You almost got me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute them? You see, this piece of cloth is illegal evidence. What nonsense is this? Legal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Auntie? Earlier, he concealed that piece of cloth. I don't have any evidence I can present at this point. Well, if that's true, the defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair! Did you think you could actually best me in court? Looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, true, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person, assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Mr. Wright? It seems at last. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? I admit I refused to present it at one point. Ah! So the evidence is illegal! No, it isn't. What? It's not that I didn't present evidence, it's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward! You can't really believe... There is only one issue to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well. Let's settle this aside once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present it. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do it now. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too. Indeed, her fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this is merely a piece of cloth, nothing else. You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have approval from the police department. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence must be relevant to the case and trial. And here's the crux of the matter. At the time, it was impossible for me to prove its relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What kind of nonsense is this? Do you want relevancy? Just take one look at the picture and... Sorry, but can you recall what was this picture presented? That was shown only a few moments ago. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Oh, no! It was then that you approved of this cloth as conclusive evidence. You, the chief of police, personally approved it. The only person who could have cut this cloth from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and the only person it could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you! Oh god, that hurt. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. I'm out of breath. The good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years he's been snooping around the department looking for something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, crime isn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Yes, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my one and only chance to find the truth. You gotta help me. Goodman turned himself down, as he ought to. Still, Jake didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take evidence. He came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him into the evidence room. Then all of a sudden he decided to speak out. What are you talking about? Could you please reopen the investigation? We can't transfer the evidence out. There's too many questions unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm gonna hand this over to Marshall." To be honest, I was taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to me, and I never thought he'd open up SL9. That's when I saw it. That cursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have led to more blood, making it impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who had stumbled in, so I hurried and wiped it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as a crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car? I couldn't think of any other way to move it. I broke your trunk? What's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Leaving the prosecution's car aside, how could you get Miss Sky involved in all of this? She had as much to lose if the truth did come out. So you took the evidence from his locker? I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have time to pick and choose what to take. So you left the jar fragments in the glove? Yes. Looks like I was better off being an investigator than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them, they do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? You despise criminals. I can feel it, you and me. We're the same. One day you'll understand. Believe me, you're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to do it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Aji. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel our lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I know you as long as you used to be. Long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example for us on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you're no longer that person. Those days are long gone now. Thanks for the memories, though. Don't worry. You'll be fine. Now you have Raito here, and Worthy. With those two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning. It's 7 in the morning, I better not do that again. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, he betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial's over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. It seems all the questions raised have been ended. I'm sorry, Miss Sky. Why couldn't you get out of all of your trouble? What high standards you have for a rookie. I could see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. Oh, God! I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have these past few years. I know how much of an ordeal it must have been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well. Stop! I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor? You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you acted as his accomplice. A trial will be rescheduled for a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, not guilty! That is all. Court is adjourned. Whoop. At long last, it's finally over. Emma! Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for murder. That's not it. Just after the trial ended. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not intruding, pals. Guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making detectives run around all day on duty. On top you call me here, I've seen happier people at funerals. Lighten up! I'm just kidding. Are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. Came today because of you, pal. That's right. Thought you'd like to see someone. Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think was keeping you from getting wrapped up in this mess. I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I know how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. I'm such a fool, and it took me all this time to realize it. I'm so sorry. You don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find our way back on the right path. And it is from then, and from there, that we can move on to a brighter future. At least, that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe, thank you both for all you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come out from over there. Whoop. I just came to say congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right, well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth. Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. He was right. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my life to fighting them, but in order to fight crime on my own, I needed a weapon. It's scary, but I've known this to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows, given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Gant did. That thought terrifies me. It's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best at the best when they fought crime, but they both made the same mistake. In order to fight crime on my own, I needed a weapon. That may be true, but think back. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? Oh yeah. What's this, a pop quiz? Show him what he's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore her picture. And that didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth? If you'll excuse me, there's still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth! What'll you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can't let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. It seems like I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. I'd better be going too. Okay, I'll be by to visit soon. Seems we both have a lot to learn and catch up. It's a little something for you. Scientific investigation? It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis, I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. As for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't you go trekking off just yet, pal. What is it? It's just a little matter to be resolved by the chief prosecutor. She isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Well, it might be okay for me, but folks in prison are a different story. I had to bribe a guard to sneak her out. Believe me, wasn't cheap. Way to go, detective. Well, you see, Mr. Wright here is the one to be footing the bill. But, huh? What, you think I could afford all this with my salary? You gotta be kidding. Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it I suddenly feel like I want to scream? Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we go pay it off together? Yeah, it's a great idea. Come on, let's go. And so ends case 1-5. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days as prosecution. Still, I'll manage to find my way back into the field somehow. Then I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Yikes! I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation. If we penalize you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. That's what they said. Just goes to show, can't shake me off that easy. Oh, nice little stretch. Oh, God. I'm really glad I took the half hour before this. I did not expect this video to take an hour. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them, though. Someday I'm gonna make detective. Yes, sir! I'll be the one just like Dick Gumshoe. That's not something to aspire to. The good thing about Gumshoe is he doesn't quit. That's one thing you can take from Gumshoe is he's got a real great sense of justice and integrity, but I don't know, everything else seems like he's got bad time. Okay. Whoops. Detective Gumshoe, we need to fix Billy the Badger, the Blue Badger, right now. What is it? Can't you see him having a little showdown with a steak lunch? Miss Star managed to sneak one in for me. She's seeing one of the guards. Well, looks like he did it. You even gave Babina back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water? Oh, Billy the Cactus. Oh. Blue Badger's not named Billy, the Cactus was. I remember now. I'm smart. It's been forever. Looks like we won't be seeing each other again. For a while. As a farewell gift, the Wright way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. I'll never forget that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something for many years. Well, anyways, I've got another trial to get to, so I'd better be... Huh? Oh, I forgot my gavel! I've got to go! Oh my god, I see his chair! We never see the judge's chair! That's crazy. Ah, jeez. Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. So sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objections. Still, I can't go back until I'm a fully fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming! Well, see you around, Nick. Don't explain how we got this footage, but hey, see ya. I don't know how we got this footage in a quiet mountain town in the middle of California. But whatever. Mr. Edgeworth? Mr. Edgeworth? I brought you your tea. Huh? What's going on? Thanks for coming to see me off. Can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be okay. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Are they gonna let me open it? Huh? Uh-huh. Oh, that's awesome. Rise from the ashes. Oh, God. Oh. Nice. Nicely done. But yes, we are officially done with Phoenix Wright 1. We'll begin Case 2-1. And so doing, begin Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All. See you guys next time.